Hi, this video is going to cover tax resources if you're a tax practitioner or a student interested in going into tax. I hope you'll find this video helpful in finding some of the tax resources we have on Lexis Advance. I'm Zoe Caldwell. I've been with Lexis for over 16 years. I know the system pretty well, and if I don't know something, I know who to ask to get a quick reply for you. If you have any questions during this video or after, feel free to email me, and I'll get back to you with the answers that you're seeking. All right, so today I'm going to show you a couple ways to approach doing research on Lexis Advance. We have the big red search box, which we're going to spend predominantly most of this session using to search across all content on Lexis Advance. But then we have this explore content box below as well. When you know specifically what resource you're trying to access, it's a quick way to get right into the resources that you're looking for. I'm going to quickly go over Explore Content, and then we'll go back up to the red search box. Under Explore Content, you can see we have different tabs. If I'm looking for tax materials, then I can come to Practice Area or Industry. Tax materials are located here, and you can see how the screen's organized. We've gone ahead and pulled out tax cases for you, statutes related to tax law, state statutes and court rules related to tax law, administrative codes like the CFRs and state administrative codes and regulations for tax, and administrative materials like Secretary of State or things like this that would things from the IRS would be located underneath administrative materials. Secondary materials are your treatises and jurisprudence. They're located here. You'll see that we've already gone ahead and given you the most used text resources on this main screen, so you can link right out to them. But if you want to take a look at all of the tax law treatises that we have, you can just click this top link and go through the list on your own and select a source. If I come back to the screen we started on, we can see the same thing for our state resources. So if you're coming into a lot of different state resources, you need a different resources for the state of California or perhaps another state, and you're interested in doing tax research in these specific states, you'll see the pages are organized the same way. We have our cases here, and that would be cases from California, California statutes, California municipal codes, court rules, administrative codes and regulations, the administrative materials, and then secondary materials, which are treatises from the state of California. And just like on the last screen, we've gone ahead and pulled out the most used California resources. But of course, if I click all California treatises, you'll see them all listed here, and you can dive right into one of these sources right from the screen. I'm going to click Lexis Advance Research. We'll come back to the beginning. So that's how you navigate using the Explore Content tab. With the big red search box now. I'm a big fan of using the big red search box. I'm used to searching on Google all the time, typing in what I'm looking for and searching it across all content. This is where we might want to enter in a particular case name or the citation of a case. We can immediately shepherdize something from here, or I can type in the title or citation for a statute. Let's pull a common tax statute from the IRS code, and it's 26 USC 1401. Oftentimes Lexis will immediately bring it up, but if there are two things that happen to be linked from the same code section, then you'll get them both here. I'm going to go into the first one, which is the text of the current statute. Here you'll have the name of the statute right below it, and the subsections, and below that you're going to get to history and annotations, which are further cases that help interpret this statute. If this statute's longer and you have longer to scroll down the screen, we can easily jump to the different sections of this page as well and go straight to those case notes, the cases that are interpreting the statute. The case notes are almost always organized by a table of contents, and from any point in this table of contents, we can jump down using the arrows and find out which cases are discussing that portion of the statute. Using this arrow, I can zip back to the top. As we pay attention to the text of our statute, we're looking to see which subsection most applies to our issue. There's a few things we can do with that once we know that, for example, we're interested in subsection A. One thing I can do to find more resources is to shepherdize this statute. That allows me to pull all the sites that have ever cited this IRS code section. Shepherds is located here, and actually, Shepherds is letting me know right now that there's some pending legislation that may affect this statute. And then this signal here is letting me know there's something in this Shepherds report where a case may be finding this statute unconstitutional, but I want to pay attention to it because there might be something slightly damaging about this statute. So I'm going to come in to Shepherdize this document and we'll find out what's going on. By clicking pending legislation, I can link out to find out what legislation's coming out that may affect my statute. And by looking here, I can see this little signals pertaining to the citing decisions. And sure enough, there is a case out there that's finding the statute unconstitutional. If I wanted to find out which case that was and why, I could just follow the link. I wanted you to see that this particular statute has 1,125 cases that are citing to it. But on this link, other citing sources, you can see that Lexis is telling you this is where you'd link out to find treatises or secondary sources, restatements that may be talking about this law, so we can find things beyond cases that are citing this statute. This is one of my favorite links through a Shepherds report. It allows me to not just see how many cases are citing this entire statute, but how many cases are citing a particular subsection of my statute. So by clicking subsection reports, I come on down and find the subsection that's related to me. We said we were interested in subsection A, so 26 USC section 1401A has a total of 300 sites that cite to just that portion of the statute. From here, I can actually see that that negative analysis has gone away, so that's good for me. And I can always narrow down by court or search for specific terms to make sure that the cases that are populating have maybe specific terms in them that I'm looking for or come from a specific court. Once I'm here back in the statute, I can take a look at my table of contents. It's going to show me in red where I landed in this IRC code. And I can always open these little arrows and drill down further to find out if there's any more sections of this code book that I want to take a look at. We're going to go back to the beginning, so I'm going to click Lexis Advance Research right now. And let's run a search across all content by terms. So let's say we want to search sales tax, physical presence, and commerce clause. You can see that I quoted my phrases, so that sticks them together, and I don't have anything in between my terms, just typing terms in alone. If I wanted to, I could put the word "and" between my terms, and this would tell Lexis that you must put every single phrase in my result set and not to leave a particular phrase out. By running the search like this, it's telling Lexis, let's see how your search algorithm runs. Find me as the best results you can that may or may not have these terms in them. So I just searched that across all content. You can see that my screen defaults me immediately to secondary materials. Yours might not. You might default to cases. To start a research assignment and go to secondary materials, I can just drop it down and come to that link if you didn't default there. And again, your filters might be closed off, so make sure you open them up. Some of the filters I like to apply when I'm looking at secondary materials are my category filters, and I like to narrow immediately to my treatises. Once I've narrowed to treatises, I like to take a look at what sources are populating in my result set. This helps me get a better idea of the titles of books that are populating, so I can see if there's one in particular that I'm quite familiar with. The New York University Institute on State and Local Taxation is one that's used a lot by practitioners. You might be familiar with the popular tax conference held at NYU annually to discuss cutting-edge tax issues. And this research is a culmination of those presentations and the papers discussed at the conference. And what it results in is a lot of very up-to-date information on specific topics and specific tax law. I can also narrow by jurisdiction to find out California tax resources. So by putting in California, I now am looking at California law, California forms of pleading and practice, some of the more general practice guides in California on all things California law, including tax. And then you'll notice we even have California Small Business Guide, and it includes a section on taxation for small businesses. I'm going to X out of California right now. Tax law isn't always centered around a particular state and tends to be federal. I'm going to X out of California right now, and we could just leave the jurisdiction filter off. Another search box I use all the time, another filter I use all the time is search within results. This allows me to type in a few more terms. For example, I might want to focus in on the Wayfair case that recently came out. If I know that the materials that I'm looking for will likely mention this case, I can use that case as a term and filter my results using it. Now I can go back down through my sources and see what's populating now. Lexis State Tax Guide on Digital Content and Cloud Services can be a really popular resource for computer law / tax. And Bender State Taxation Principles and Practice is another commonly used resource. And I can see that it's pulling a few sections right from that. By selecting it, I'm only pulling the portions from that particular resource in my result set. All right, I just clicked my search button again to rerun the search and come back to the results screen for sales tax, physical presence, and commerce clause. We can change our department now from secondary materials to, let's say, statutes and legislation. I showed you how to pull statutes by explore content. You can drill into US federal or perhaps California and find municipal codes or code sections from California that way. But here we're running it based on a search terms, narrowing to statutes and legislation, and then I can further narrow to the state of California and find municipal codes and code sections from California here as well. If I come up, I can change my departments again and find the administrative codes and regulations, any CFRs or state regulations that have to do with the search terms that I typed in. Administrative materials would be the agency materials related to the search I ran. And finally, my cases database to find cases on the search terms I ran. You can see search term maps showing up. That's the different colors, so I can see where my terms are showing up in each case. And I can actually click on the different portions of these colors and find exactly what's being said, so I can make a better choice as to which cases I want to go to first by clicking around and finding where my terms are landing. Of course, I have my filters to narrow by jurisdiction if I need to. A few more databases I can show you. If I want to find out news sources on my search term, I can click into the news database. We've segregated out the news database and the legal news database. Because tax is such a fast-moving area of law, a tax attorney monitors the current developments in the law through legal news and the news databases. And here, Lexis has an unparalleled collection of news sources, including Law 360 and Law 360 Tax Authority, which provides daily coverage and analysis of federal and state and international law. By coming to my legal news department and checking out my sources again, I can immediately see Law 360 Tax Authority, which I just mentioned, and the general Law 360 news. And by pulling that source open, I'm getting the results just from that resource. Let's go back to the beginning and I'll do a quick recap for you. I showed you two ways to run searches for tax resources. One way was going through Explore Content and choosing the practice area Tax Law. Another way would be to go into your state and pull tax resources already organized by the state of California or whichever state you're looking for. We also use the big red search box at the top of the screen to type in our terms and dive into different departments like cases and statutes and legal news. Just know I'm available. You have my email, zoe.caldwell@lexisnexus.com. You can always call customer support for help. And thanks for watching this video.